Hi, this is Jenny Brav of Radiant Wholeness Healing. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about this idea that life is happening for you. And at the end of my last video, which was a channeled message from the guides about dissolution of form, one of the things that they were saying that really has stayed with me since was that our current circumstances are always intended to bring to the surface whatever wounding, beliefs, coping strategies are wanting loving attention and healing so that they can then be brought to the light. And in sessions since then, in my own life, even during hikes, that has been getting clearer and deepened in its meaning and how it might be relevant for all of us. And since for me right now, I'm in the middle of this big, intense time of death and rebirth, there have been a number of circumstances that have felt on a human level challenging. These teachings have been really helpful. And before we dive in, I did want to invite you to like, subscribe, and especially comment. Let me know if something struck you, if there's something you disagree with, just so that I know that these videos that I'm sending out into the world from my heart to yours are being received. So this is really the image I'm getting as best as I can represent it with my hands. So the tip of this, with where my fingers are meeting, this is the surface level human experience. And while on the spiritual level, there is no under, no above, no better, no worse, in human terms, just this framework of below, above can be helpful. So this is our human level experience, life as it's happening. And so when the guides say that this, whatever's happening on the human level, physical material world, is intended to bring what's below the surface. So I'm going to lower my hands or my arms are going to get tired. But so this is the surface level. And below all of this is our wounds. And these wounds can be childhood wounds, they can be ancestral, they can be karmic. Often they're all three. It can be like this trifecta of past life, ancestral, and then current life childhood stuff often mirror each other. So there's the wounding, then the emotions, unprocessed emotions that got stuck with the original wound. And that could be fear, panic, powerlessness, confusion, shame, anger, rage. Yeah, those are the most common, but any emotion that got stuck, despair, disgust, and then attached to all of that are then beliefs and coping strategies that were developed to make sense of what was happening, to feel safer, more protected. And again, they might have been developed by us as children, they might be inherited, or a little bit of both. And so often what's happening if we're not on a spiritual path, and even if we are, but we forget, we're usually taking whatever's happening on the surface at face value, which means that when the things that are meant to be healed are brought up, we instead just get mired in it. So all of this stuff gets dredged up, all the wounds, the physical sensations, the stuck unprocessed emotions, beliefs, coping strategies are kind of like being dragged from the bottom of the ocean to the surface for us to look at it. And instead, usually it just re-traumatizes us. And it feels like the thing is happening all over again. Oh my goodness, why can't I get a break? How is this happening? It triggers all of our fears, our stories, our pushback, our defenses. And that's going to keep happening until we are able to both. There are two parts of this, I'm realizing. So there's both finding the ground below all of this, because below all of this, there's our connection to the earth, to the well ancestors, to our inner resources, the healthy versions of all of our lower chakras, feeling safe, our will, our creativity, connection to all living beings on the earth level. That's here. So there's, until we can ground down until that, and then rise above and into higher consciousness and interconnectedness, and to seeing the spiritual meaning of the situation, we're going to keep attracting the same similar things, not necessarily the same thing, but similar feeling tone of things over and over again. And we might think we've done the healing and done the work. And if it keeps coming up, that means there's some aspect of it that is still wanting loving attention. It might not be the exact same thing we have worked on, and there's something there. So when current circumstances dredge all that stuff to the surface, we really have two choices. I mean, basic choices. There are layers to both, but the first is we just swim in the sludge and get re-traumatized and go into our defenses, our often victim stories, fighting back. And we might bring a little bit to the light and release it, and whatever is still there is going to resurface at some point for healing. And here it really feels just, at least to me, so overwhelming and ungrounded and murky and hard to get clarity, hard to find solidity. And you might have your own flavor to that. So you get to feel what this feels like. And again, depending on the wound being brought up, it might have different flavors, different emotions, different beliefs, different coping strategies that get brought up. So option one, get mired in it, reinforce the stories, reinforce the wounds, and at some point it will come up again. Option two, first, is really finding the grounding within. So that's something that helps us resource, can be breathing, can be abdominal work, massage, being in nature, feeling our feet, swimming, running, being with the mountains, being with water, air, whatever your healing element is, fire, heat. Doing something that helps us feel already a little more centered. So find the ground below, the ground within, so that we're less in the sludge and we can at least feel our feet, feel our legs, our spine, pelvic bone. And these things, there's not necessarily an order. It can also happen concurrently sometimes. To find the ground, for some people, it's rising above first. And so the second thing, or the first thing, or the concurrent thing, is really finding that higher perspective. And that can be us finding it ourselves. It can be asking for guidance through automatic writing, prayer, dance, meditation, cooking. Again, however you find wisdom, inner knowing, drawing, just once you feel more grounded, just asking for some kind of clarity, wisdom, higher perspective of a different way to be holding this. How might this be helping me? How might this be serving me? In a recent situation I was in, I was able to connect to mold and bed bugs that had happened back to back in my home and are still happening to some extent, and really, really get into this place of gratitude and care and love and loving boundaries. I think often it's like the more we're in a space of love, the more we can have really solid boundary around like, oh, this, I respect you, I honor you, thank you for being here to show me this wounding, and I release you, and I'm setting a clear boundary that I'm no longer needing this in my space. So let's do this together. I invite you to close your eyes and feel into any situation that is happening currently in your life. And again, it can be entirely internal: anxiety, depression, feeling wobbly, panic attacks, rage, fear, just whatever is coming up. Or it can be an external situation of your doing, not at all of your doing, on a surface human level. And just feel into, okay, what if this situation can be a colleague, a partner, a child, a parent, sibling? Just if this situation were happening for me, if the sole intent of this were to dredge up to the surface an old wound that I may or may not be aware of, childhood, karmic, ancestral, just feel into that possibility. And we don't even need to know what the wound is, just feeling into the quality of what arises around these current circumstances. Emotions: is there powerlessness, confusion, fear, anger, despair? Does this have a familiar quality to it? Have you felt this before? Where do you feel it in your body? And what does it feel associated with? If the wounding had a quality, is it a wounding around connection, separation, survival, safety, oppositionality? Worth, scarcity, abundance, creativity, what your soul is wanting to share with the world? Is there an either or quality to it? Split, this or that? And just getting curious, opening to whatever arises, and recognizing that information can come to us through any of our senses. There might be images, colors, sounds, felt sense in the body, and inner knowing, smell, taste, an energy to it, a vibration. Trusting whatever is arising, however it is coming to you. And then feeling into any beliefs that might be associated with this. Might be an inner critic, kind of negative self-taught belief about self. I'm not enough. I always mess up, ruin things. I'm going to fail. I am failing. I always make mistakes. This is my fault. It's all on me. If I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And that starts getting us into beliefs about the world at large. It's not safe. Can't trust others. There's always danger lurking. Whenever I'm happy, something tragic is going to happen. Whatever might be, and feel into any coping strategies that you inherited, developed, came in with to manage coping with a world that, or a version of self that is what you believe it is. So it might be fighting, hiding, staying small, having to fight everyone to prove your worth, to try to get your power back. Submitting to others' power can be a lot of push-pull, either or, dual coping strategies. It could be a habit, pattern you keep on finding yourself in. And just noticing. With compassion, if possible. And so from here, I invite you to just breathe, surround all the things that came up with your breath, with light, with a color that feels healing, maybe an element. Maybe it's a higher self. Just feeling what is wanting to come forth to help hold all of this so that you're not holding it alone. It might be a tree energy, plant, animal, mythical creature, teacher, whatever it is. Oh, just feel this helping you hold all the things that have been dredged, all the emotions, all the things that has brought to the surface in your body, because the body is a mirror of the wounds, the beliefs, the unprocessed emotions. And then ask this resource to help you find your ground, your feet, the place within you that is stable, immutable. Might be your breath, might be your belly, it might be your feet, spine, it might be an image, a crystal, a rock, again, that plant, a tree, roots, an earth animal. And feel how maybe all the things that have been dredged up in the surface might feel a little bit smaller with that sense of there is still love surrounding it, it's being held. There's a part of me that is still solid here, calm, spacious, breath. And now invite yourself to maybe rise above in whatever way that might work for you. Maybe you feel your crown opening, maybe you feel a little more space in your mind. You might see blue sky. I have a lot of avian guides up here that help me rise above. Feeling that support, feeling that holding. Let's first start gathering from all the places we feel it in the body, the wounds and unprocessed emotions. Often they're stuck in the throat, the heart, the belly. Might be in the second, first chakras. Sometimes for me, they're also in the lower back. This is slightly different from the beliefs and the coping strategies, which we'll get to next. But this is really the raw, vulnerable, visceral, like wounding feeling of that primal wound of separation, of lack of safety, that and whatever originally happened that brought a feeling of being betrayed, not safe, scarcity, and all the feelings that get dredged up associated that are so raw, visceral, fear, panic, rage, powerlessness, confusion, and we're going to nod to it. So this is this, where we're just drowning it and dredged in it. And you can do this with your hands if you want. And we're going to flip it over. And with the help of our grounding guides, of our rise above guides, higher self, inner knowing, our wisdom, source, God, angels, whatever term resonates with you, we're going to nod to the karmic wounds, the ancestral wounds, the childhood wounds, and all those precious raw feelings that were never just received and held and loved and acknowledged. I see you, I feel you, I honor you. Let's bring it outside of our bodies, outside of our energy fields. And in whatever way feels good to you, you might blow it, you might release it, burn it. Let's just send it back to the light, to air, to water, to earth, to sound, vibration, like caged birds that are finally being freed because they do not want to be trapped in human bodies for so many lifetimes and generations either. They're like, oh, finally we get to go back to the light, and we're going to release all the cords that are tying us to those wounds and those just visceral emotions of pain, grief, hurt. And then we're going to gather the beliefs from our neural pathways, the coping strategies. Often these are in the neck and shoulders. Sometimes the hands, the fists, they might be in the legs, the feet, like aborted flight response. If they're there, you can gather that coping strategies, clenching in the stomach, any place that is bracing, holding, scrambling, numb, checked out, dissociated. There can also be this line, can be here, especially if there's a history of trauma. So we're going to gather all of that, all the beliefs, the inner critic, the coping strategies that were designed to help us, did help us, or ancestors or past lives, just honoring how they served a purpose, they have really helped, and feeling how now that our current circumstances are changed, they no longer serve. And so bring those away from your body, outside of your energy field, knowing that, again, our current circumstances, we're just dredging them up to the surface to be released back to light and love and healing. So flipping it over, we are no longer needing to swim in the sludge. We're releasing back to light, to energy, to love, to space, healing, letting the guides, your higher self, source, universe, earth, dissolve that back into love. And releasing in whatever way feels good to you. Any cords, you can cut the cords too that might still be tying you to those coping strategies and beliefs. Wow. Feeling that there's more space. Ooh, more breath. More calm. Less buzzing of thoughts. And if you want, you can close your eyes, keep them open, whatever feels good, and really feel the ground and your grounding helpers. Feel the space in your crown, your third eye, above. Feel those helpers. And call forth the version of you, parallel, future, higher self, already here, that has already released the wounding, the pattern, the habit, coping strategy, the belief, the sticky, unprocessed emotions, and is living from this place of freedom, of fullness, of wholeness, of having reclaimed all those disowned parts. And you might get an image of feeling or knowing, sounds, sensation in your body, taste, a song, words. And ask for any wisdom, any message, any encouragement, affirmations, gifts. It can be from the well ancestors, from the guides, from your soul self. And once you receive that, just bring that into your crown. Feel that rewiring, repatterning all the neural pathways that have been conditioned towards scarcity, fear, defensiveness, collapse, depression, anxiety, fighting, hypervigilance, whatever it might be, rewiring it towards this place of trusting, surrender, allowing support, perfection of the perfection of the present moment, including anything we might trip on. It's all perfect. as my mouth was just demonstrating, and rewiring that into your nervous system, feeling into the possibility of this being your default setting. That you live in this place of feeling the ground beneath, grounding down, grounding within, the ground within, and that higher perspective. And occasionally you dip down into the human level, surface level of the fear thoughts. Remember, this is where you reside. This abiding sense of okayness, of trust, surrender, spaciousness, flow and ease. And rewiring that into your nervous system, into your muscles, lymph tissues, ligaments, tendons, your bones, deep into the bone marrow, your immune system, your organs, your vascular system, all systems in the body spreading throughout the skin, imprinting on a cellular level, bringing that into your heart, feeling all four levels of your heart, all four chambers of your heart, with this feeling, these new beliefs you're bringing in about yourself, the world, this shift in relationship with life. And when it feels like your heart is so full, it's going to spill over, letting that radiate back out, sending it up and down your timeline, up and down the generations, lifetime, and gathering this beautiful healing energy that we generated together and sending it to all parts of the world, all people that might be mired in the surface level wounds, emotions, beliefs, coping strategies. When you're ready, opening your eyes if they were closed, tapping all over your body to seal the healing. Shake it out, touching something grounding of my infinity stone. And thank you so much for trusting me and going with me on this beautiful journey of healing.